back to the Journey Principles. It's been a little bit since we've recorded a small video, and as you can tell, I'm slightly under the weather. But we are getting near the holidays, and we're kind of excited about that. But it takes me back to a story that happened to me back in '97, where basically I didn't have anything whatsoever to share with my family and friends. I was able to draw my grandfather a couple of pictures and draw my dad something and stuff like that because just the finances and whatnot. I'd been sleeping in a car for a little while, and my family didn't know much about it. This is long before I became a business owner and long before I had any real formal training of any kind in making sure that I was going to have a successful life going forward. And one of the things that came up with that was the subject of forgiveness and how many people that I had to go back and forgive, and also how many people I had to go back and ask forgiveness of. And then it dawned on me that the very man who helped me with everything, led me to Christ, helped get me on the road to recovery, if you will, making sure that I was going to go leaps and bounds towards the next level in life, was my grandfather. And this past weekend, just before we head into the Christmas holidays and before I go get married on you guys, I have to introduce you to my beautiful bride very shortly. But before we do all that, I got a chance to sit down with my grandfather, Silver Fox, George Bruce Stallings, who has his own testimony of how forgiveness changed his life. And I can't wait for you guys to hear about it, because today's principle is all about forgiveness. The before, the after, the bitterness, the anger, the things that come with it, and also how to let go of it and move forward in life. So without any further ado, here's my grandfather, George. You talked about forgiveness before and how important that was for you to really join up with your dad and everything.
Sure.
What's that story?
My story was this: I despised my dad for years because I couldn't understand a wife like my mom was to him, obedient to the very end, but she put up with so much crap that I just couldn't understand it. How he treated us, he treated everybody better than he did his own family. And he did more favors for the other people than he did for us. And I would never forget it, because I've seen the time that I'd be sitting in a store and he would say something that would embarrass you so bad you'd have to get up and leave. And it was nothing but pure stupidity and things that hurt. You don't hurt people you love. You might do it, but you will come and ask forgiveness. But my father, I'll never forget the time that I had come from service. I was a Christian. I was really strong into reading in the Bible and trying to put my whole armor on. And thank God he let me do it. I had babies coming into the world now, and I wanted to make sure that I was the father that they needed. And it had not been a nights that I wouldn't stand over their cribs and pray for them and ask the Lord to bless them and lead me to lead them the way they should be. But this day, I got out of service in September of 1952. And shortly after that, it was in 54, I think it was, that day, that I went down, and of course, he was drinking. My mom and dad lived in a farm, and this is where he farmed. He didn't work it much. That's the reason he had so many kids to work it. And but anyway, he was drunk, and he wanted to talk about the Bible. And his preacher, his pastor, told me that he knew more about the Bible than he did. He'd read through the Bible 5 times, and he took notes on everything. My youngest brother got his Bible. I would have loved to have it just to check on some of the things that he wrote about, because I couldn't see how a man could think like and not have Christ in his heart. Now, this always amazed me. But when he was wanting to talk about the Bible, I said, Dad, if he would call you home right now, you'd split hell wide open. It broke his heart. He says, I've done more good than I have bad. Take Moses. He wouldn't let Moses go into the promised land. for a simple reason that Moses was bitter and angry when he struck the rock. He told him to strike the rock, and the water would gush out for his children. And Moses, in anger, struck the rock. The water came. But he says, Moses, because you've been disobedient, you cannot go into the promised land. Now, a lot of people, he was a man of God. That's the first thing they say.
Yeah, but man of God can still be bitter.
He can be bitter, and this is what I'm saying. I would have never told you this if I didn't think it fell on ears that it would mean something.
How did you find it? How did you find it in your heart to forgive your father?
Well,
and to move forward with grace.
When we had our little meeting, and I told him, I said, Dad, there's only one person in the world can change this. You accepting the Lord Jesus Christ in your heart. I said, the day that happens, he said, he'd already said, well, I know y'all must hate me.
It's all right, I got it. Don't worry about it.
I said, no, I don't hate you. I just hate the ways that you've treated us. And it shouldn't be. I said, Dad, you've been given a home. You've screwed people all your life. And it's time you straighten your life out. I'll never see you in the kingdom of God. And I upset him so much when Mom come home from work that night. He called her at the door and says, Nellie Gray, come in here. I'm going to talk to you. Said, I talked with Bruce today. That's my middle name, Karen. And says, he has tore me all to pieces. Said, well, what did he say? Said, I had to be born again or I was going to split hell wide open. She said, that's the truth. She don't know what being born again means. It means asking Jesus to come into your heart and save you. So, well, I've done too much. I can't be. He said, no. He's given you the right now to ask him into your heart. He said, well, I'm going to go to church Sunday, rededicate my life, and stand up and tell the people everything I've ever done. Mama says, you don't need to take it that far.
Well, you told me once about you and God specifically had a special time together to let go of your dad and all the stuff that you dealt with as a child, and that was really between you and God alone, and not really something that.
Absolutely, I did the night that I heard this man say, "You've got to let it go. You've got to let these things," and it had bothered me for years. And Stephen, this come after your visit out at Faith Community Church. This happened after that. That when he was so strong on it, I said, and I knew it was something that was keeping me from doing exactly what God wanted me to do. And it was this. He's not going to let you meet what he's got for you unless you get this stuff out of your heart. See, I resented him. He don't want me to resent no man. He wants you to love him into Christ. And when I found this out, then I said, well, God, I understand. I got on my knees and I prayed and I prayed. I said, Father, I'm not getting up until you take this burden off of me. And when I got up, he had taken it off.
Well, as you can see, my grandfather is full of wisdom. I'd like to believe I get it honest, but he's a lot smarter man than me. I hope to be just like him one day. He's got that's wide flowing hair and all the wisdom that goes with it. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with my grandfather, and God blessings wise, with God's blessing, we'll have him for a little while longer. He's unfortunately diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So any prayers you guys would offer on Silver Fox's behalf, I would greatly appreciate it. But I hope you enjoyed that. Until next time, we'll see you in the Journey Principles.